Some journeys begin not with footsteps, but with the ache of an unanswered question. And sometimes, the hardest road you will ever walk is the one that leads you back to yourself. If you ever felt like this, then this story is for you. She was young, yet the weight she carried in her heart made her feel much older. Her days had begun to feel like endless repetitions. Wake, work, wander, wonder, collapse. Somewhere along the way, she had lost herself. She could not point to the exact moment when her light had dimmed, when the laughter she once carried so effortlessly had turned into silence. But she knew something was missing. She was alive, but not living. Breathing, but not truly present. It wasn't always this way. As a child, she had been filled with wonder. Every raindrop was magic, every star was a friend. She dreamed of doing great things, of living boldly. But life, with its storms and disappointments, had a way of breaking her dreams into pieces. With every failure, with every rejection, with every betrayal, she built walls around her heart. And now, as a young woman, she found herself wandering through life without direction, feeling invisible even to herself. One evening, unable to bear the emptiness anymore, she decided to leave everything behind. For too long, she had carried a hollow ache inside her chest, a silence that not even the noise of the world could fill. Her days blurred together in a gray sameness. Wake, move, work, sleep, yet nothing felt alive within her. But then came the whispers. Quiet stories carried from one mouth to another about a woman who lived high in the mountains, an old woman whose wisdom had healed many who came before. No one could describe exactly what she gave, no one could point to a single lesson or secret, yet those who returned from meeting her carried something different in their eyes. Peace, strength, and a life that seemed to burn from deep within. The young woman could not explain why her heart stirred at the mention of this old sage, but it did. Perhaps it was desperation, perhaps it was hope, or perhaps, somewhere deep down, she knew this journey would not only lead her to a wise woman in the mountains, but also back to the forgotten corners of her own soul. And so, without a map, without certainty, she set out. The road stretched out before her, long and uncertain. She walked through silent streets where windows glowed with the warmth of families she did not have. Each window was a reminder of the love she once dreamed of, but which life had denied her. She passed children laughing in the distance, and their joy pierced her like an arrow, reminding her of a time when she too had laughed so freely without fear of tomorrow. As she moved beyond the city, the noise faded. The pavement ended, and wide fields stretched under the dimming sky. Crickets hummed in the tall grass, and the wind whispered through the empty land. Here, the silence was different, not heavy with loneliness, but alive with possibility. With each step, she felt herself moving further from the life she was leaving behind and closer to something unknown. Her first challenge came in the forest. The trees towered above her, tall and endless, swallowing the light until only fragments of sun reached the forest floor. Shadows coiled around her, stretching like hands that tried to pull her back. The path beneath her feet was uneven, roots catching at her ankles, stones pressing against her soles. And the silence here was not peaceful. It pressed heavily against her ears, amplifying her fear. "What if I'm lost? What if I never find the way?" she whispered. Her own voice echoed back, trembling. But then, as she stumbled forward, her eyes caught something. A tree, broken and split down its trunk. Lightning, perhaps, or some storm had torn it apart. By all reason, it should have been dead. And yet, from its side, A fresh branch had grown, green, alive, reaching toward the sun with defiant strength. She stopped, staring at it as if it were speaking directly to her. If even broken things can grow again, then maybe I can too. And with that, she kept walking. Days later, she reached the river. Vast, restless, unyielding. The current roared with power, rushing forward with no thought of stopping, carving its path through stone and earth alike. She sat by its edge, her body heavy with exhaustion, her spirit trembling with doubt. How much longer can I go on? She thought, staring at her reflection trembling in the water. But as she watched the river, she began to notice its secret. The river did not fight the obstacles in its way. It did not resist the stones or rage against the mountains. It simply flowed, patiently, relentlessly. Over time, even the hardest rock surrendered, reshaped by its persistence. Strength, she realized, was not always loud. It was not always about force or speed. Sometimes, strength was quiet, patient, steady, the kind that endured when everything else failed. And with that lesson, she rose again. The climb to the mountains was the hardest of all. The winds howled with icy teeth, cutting through her skin and numbing her bones. Her lips cracked, her feet bled, and hunger gnawed at her body. Every step grew heavier than the last, as if the mountain itself was testing her resolve. What if I never find her? What if this is all for nothing? What if I'm too broken to be healed? Her legs gave out beneath her, and she fell to her knees. Dust clung to her tears as they spilled freely. For a long time, she simply knelt there, defeated. But then came the dawn. Slowly, gently, light spilled across the horizon. Golden beams stretched over the peaks, painting the sky in crimson and fire. The cruel night was over, and the sun, faithful and unyielding, had risen once again. And in that glow, she understood. No matter how long the night, the sun always returned. No matter how deep the darkness, light was never truly gone. Perhaps life was the same. No matter how broken, no matter how hopeless, there was always the possibility of a new beginning. She stood again, weak but determined. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she reached the dwelling. It was not a grand temple or golden palace as she had once imagined. It was small, humble, surrounded by silence. And there, waiting, sat the old woman. She did not speak. She did not ask questions. She only looked at the young woman, and in her gaze there was something deeper than words, an understanding that reached into the very core of the traveler's soul. The young woman felt seen, truly seen, as if every wound, every scar, every unspoken cry had been laid bare before eyes that did not judge, but only understood. And in that stillness, she realized the truth. Wisdom was not something given from the outside. It was not hidden in a book or spoken in a riddle or locked away in another person. It was something already inside her, waiting to be awakened. The old woman had not been there to hand her answers. She had been there to remind her. She was stronger than her failures. She was greater than her pain. She was not too late, not too broken, not too far gone. And now, this story, though hers, becomes yours. Because perhaps you too have walked through nights that felt endless. Perhaps you too have stared into the mirror and wondered where the person you used to be has gone. Perhaps you too have carried the weight of regret, convinced it is too late to begin again. But listen closely. It is not too late. Life is not finished with you yet. Like the broken tree, you can grow again. Like the river, you can carve your path with patience. Like the dawn, you can rise after the darkest night. This is your reminder, your invitation, your chance. You don't need to wait for someone to save you. The wisdom you seek is already within you. All you must do is begin. So let this story be your turning point. Don't let the weight of yesterday steal the promise of tomorrow. Stand up, take one step, then another. Believe again, begin again. Because your story is not over. It is only waiting for you to write the next chapter. And if this story touched your soul, share it with someone who needs it too.
And don't forget to subscribe to Life Lessons Library, because sometimes one story is all it takes to change a life forever.